So in this video, I am going to continue my Greek monster series. I am going to be doing centaurs. It is very, very important because I think these horsemen have everything to do with the four horsemen of the Apocolypse. Okay, they're in the book of Revelation. I believe God uses the centaurs to explain lots of things. And there's a bad version, a very bad version. And there's a more positive version. There is a centaur heroes. Okay, and I'm going to be using both because both are true. I will show that to you in this video right now. Okay, God uses both. So first of all, oh man, I have to explain a whole bunch of things. Okay, so you being carried away by horses to the other side goes back almost since the beginning of time. Okay, and so and there's a good version and the bad version. Okay, you being carried away by horses to heaven is a concept that goes all the way since forever, okay? Or taking a chariot to heaven, okay? Sometimes this chariot is a boat. Sometimes it's a chariot led by horses, okay? And that's obviously in the Bible with Elijah. Elijah was taken away in a chariot to heaven, okay? And it's very important that everyone had this concept. And you can still see it today in some current religions, okay? Even in the Hindu religion, you get carried away by a horse whirlwind chariot. In Islam, Mohammad gets carried away by a horse whirlwind chariot, okay? And the reason why I'm bringing it up with the centaurs is because some people think centaurs just represented men riding on horses, or heroes riding on horses, or bad people riding on horses. That's because God uses both, okay? And you can see these really old burial sites from the ancient Near East, and even the Vikings were doing this, okay? Everyone had this concept. These horses were being sacrificially killed and buried with people, okay? Because they thought these horses were taking them into the afterlife, okay? They were being taken to the other underworld or to heaven. But an even cooler reason is that half of these people thought there was a war going on the other side. In the spirit world, there was a war going on, and you had to be prepared for battle. That's why they were buried with weapons, and they had to take horses with them, because that's what you bring to battle. Horses and weapons, right? Alright? So yeah, they were transporting their souls into another world. And so sometimes these old burial sites will even have horses buried with a human. Okay? Very interesting, right? See the Vikings, they buried their dead with horses, but then there's the Viking funeral, which is the boat version. It's a mode of transportation for you to go to the other side. Okay, so you being carried away by horses goes back all the way since the beginning of time. And centaurs, horsemen, men as these horses, okay, goes back to the beginning of time too, okay? Centaurs are not original. They did not just start from the Greeks. Okay, in India they have centaurs. In the ancient Near East they had centaurs. Okay, these were more like Pegasus centaurs, but and they came from the east, and that is very interesting because even in the temple Apollo's temple, where the Centromachia is, I'll explain that in a minute. These horsemen are on the east side of the temple. Because even traditionally, if you're going to study horses, and people started riding horses, the Persians were the first ones who dominated the horses. Well, they were the first known people to properly dominate horses anyway. Okay, they were known as the horsemen. Okay, and if you believe the Persians came from India, that would make sense. Okay, that is a huge theory that the Persians were part East Indian. Okay. Anyway, so according to the Temple of Apollo, the horsemen came from the east. That would mean probably, and I'm bringing that up because that probably means the Persians and these other people. Okay, so and the idea is they had never seen anyone riding on horses before, so they thought this was a monster. Okay, they weren't aware that these horsemen were just people riding on horses. That is one of the many theories. Okay, so they think that these Greeks drawing horses were just talking about men riding on horses, and I really use that, okay? But I have to use the bad version first too. I have to use the bad version because according to the Greeks, you being turned into a part animal was a form of punishment, and God uses that. Okay, you being part animal was a very bad form of punishment, and it was usually associated with a type of sin. So Let's use that version first, because that is true. It's God uses all of it. Okay, so the sin associated with being a centaur was a couple of different things from my perspective, a little bit. Okay, so centaurs represented men who got really drunk, who couldn't handle their liquor and did the R word. They were also known as wedding crashers because they would get really drunk at weddings and take women away. And they were also, so I'm definitely getting some adultery stuff here, okay, because it's about how centaurs steal other men's wives, okay, or other men's girlfriends, all right. So it means so being carried away by centaurs meant that you were an adulterer, okay, and it meant that you were maybe doing the R word. It depends on which version you want to use, and it meant you were a wedding crasher. Centaurs were wedding crashers. That's what they're known for doing. They're known for wrecking homes. They're home wreckers. Okay? So the idea is that there's all kinds of debate about what's going on here. Okay? So these heroes are battling the centaurs in the Temple of Apollo. And this is very important because this is all in the Book of Revelation. The Book of Revelation, it talks about that Apollyon. It talks about the Temple of Apollo. And these centaurs are in the Temple of Apollo. So that probably means that God needs you to study that. Okay? And the whole idea is these heroes have to fight that off. And that if you want to get deep into the theology of it, you could say this is not just talking about the Persians, them fighting the Persians. This is talking about they're fighting their own animal nature. Of them trying, they have to resist the urge to do the R word. They have to resist the urge to be an adulterer or adulteress. Okay? It's about fighting the monster within. Okay? That is a deeper theology that's going on here. Okay? And if you couldn't do it, you got carried off out into the wilderness, okay? Get what I'm saying? And God uses that. You say, okay, so you want to be carried off by the evil version of a centaur. All you have to be is an adulterer or the R word. Someone who does the R word and gets drunk, okay? And of course, there's a female version, okay? And I'm going to use that real fast because women can be centaurs. They can be adulterers. They can do the R word, okay? And they can steal other men's wives. That's what centaurs do. They steal husbands and wives. They're wedding crashers. They're home wreckers, right? And women can do the same thing. I just have to bring this up because you know how like a seductress walks with her high heels, and it kind of sounds like a horse walking, right? I have to bring that up. Like sexy women or like really inappropriate women. They walk with their high heels that makes a noise, and it sounds just like a horse coming. That's a sound of an adulterer coming. It's a centaur, okay? It's sin coming your way. You can hear it from a mile away, so try to avoid it, okay? Men and women, okay? And the whole idea is that you're supposed to resist that urge. You're supposed to resist that monster inside of you, okay? You have to beat it down emotionally. You're not supposed to hit anybody. You're definitely not supposed to beat up yourself. You have to fight the monster, that monster, okay? That's why God brings it up in the Book of Revelation. Have you defeated that monster? Then you're just going to become one of the monsters, okay? You failed you didn't resist that temptation, okay? So that is a very bad definition of a centaur and being carried off by centaurs. And God uses that version. Okay, you want to act like a centaur, you're gonna go carried off to this kingdom where they're all at. And you know what kingdom I'm talking about? I'm talking about hell, okay? That's where all the adulterers live and all the people who do the R word, okay? That's all the homewreckers go. Alright, so and I can think of some people, some heroes who were able to conquer that monster in themselves. For example, the Greeks would have read King David, King David's story, and they would have totally called him a centaur, okay? Because what did King David do? He took another man's wife, okay? He was an adulterer, okay? But he was able to conquer that monster. He didn't keep doing it, right? He was able to repent. So he is one of these Greek heroes. Of course, I'm using a Bible version, God's hero, okay? Because the Greek heroes failed. They pretended that they were these heroes, but they weren't. So King David he was able to conquer his centaur. You get what I'm saying? He fought off that centaur that was in him. That urge to resist the urge to cheat, to be an adulterer. All right? Because that's what centaurs meant. All right? So God has all of these heroes in the Bible, okay? But Apollo and Zeus's heroes are fake heroes. They never conquered any of this stuff, okay? It also has to do with sex before marriage too, because if you're an adulterer, you're obviously not getting married to this person first. So centaurs could be guilty of, that's another sin they could be associated with, having sex before marriage. That's what happens when you have an adulterer anyway, or if you do the R word anyway, right? Anyway, the reason why the Greeks failed at all this stuff, they pretended that they are above all this stuff. Like, we don't do that. Because they recognized that this stuff was sinful with some of these other pagan religions, even though they were actually pagan. Okay, because in the Canaanite religion and all these some of these religions, they were allowed to have multiple wives, and the men were doing the R word, and they realized that was bad, but they were hypocrites because they said that stuff was bad, but the kings could do whatever they wanted. We learned that in the Medusa video. The kings and the gods, if they wanted to have multiple wives, if they wanted to do the R word, okay, that's what happened with Medusa, right? Poseidon did the R word to Medusa, but he wasn't considered a centaur. He wasn't considered a bad guy at all, okay, because they were hypocrites. Okay, they said sometimes you can get away with it if you had enough authority. If you had enough authority, you can get away with anything. And God's like, no, my king had to get punished for it. And it doesn't matter if he was a king, he couldn't be an adulterer. Okay? In fact, in the Jewish religion, the kings and the priests had more strict rules than everybody else, because they were supposed to show the other people how you were supposed to act. If the gods are doing the R word and they're doing adulterer, how do you expect the people to do it? Okay, that's why the Greeks fail at this stuff, because they said one thing but did another with their gods, right? The gods could do whatever they wanted. They were terrible. Whatever. No. Let's do some etymology. Okay, there's a battle between scholars about what the word centaur comes from and what it really means. And there's two main ones. A centaur either means someone who fights a bull, or a bull slayer, basically. Or there's a really old definition of a centaur, which is spelled with a K. It's spelled K-E-N-T, centauri, okay? And that version is very interesting because it means that it's a water spirit. It's a spirit that comes from the water. Okay, so that's where the word centaur comes from. And you know what I'm going to say about that? So this is a spirit from the abyss that comes and gets you. Okay? And you can see that with these religions, and you can see that with the etymology. First of all, in the Persian religion, Satan can take the form of a horse, okay, in the Persian religion. And God uses all that stuff. Satan, his name is Airman. He looks like a little kid sometimes. He takes the form of a child, or he looks like a big demon, or he looks like a horse, okay? And someone has to ride him, or some people ride him, all right? And that has to do with the Four Horsemen of the Apocolypse. It's all very involved. I'm trying so hard just to stick with the Greek version with this, but I am going to bring up some etymology, and I'm going to talk about the Muslim centaur, okay? Obviously, it's not called a centaur, it's called a barak, okay? If I'm pronouncing it correct. And it's so crazy because a barak is in the book of Enoch as being a fallen angel, okay? That deceives people. So, even in the book of Enoch, a barak, the thing that Mohammad rode, is a demon. It's an evil spirit that took him away. Alright? Because it's in the book of Enoch. Since the beginning of time, that a barak is a name of a fallen angel in the book. And the reason why he's fallen, according to the book of Enoch, the barak, okay, they were the ones who taught humans how to do astronomy. Okay? They were fallen angels. So, literally, it'll just tell you that Muhammad rode off into the sunset on a fallen angel. Satan took him to hell, alright? Straight out of the etymology, God will tell you what happened to Muhammad, alright? And why is that? Well, in this picture, first of all, this angel takes him and shows him hell on one of these Islamic stories. This barak, this angel, this spirit, takes him and shows him hell, and it shows him all these adulterous women in hell, okay? And this is why Muhammad was evil, okay? Not only was he started a false religion, but he was a hypocrite, just like the Greeks, because the women were, look how bad and evil these women are, but the men could do whatever they wanted, right? Okay, that's why God's like, no, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, you cannot do adultery, which is exactly what Muhammad did. He was sleeping with his son's wives, okay, and he had a 9-year-old concubine, okay? He was a hypocrite. Okay, and so Barak came and got him. All right. Something that is very interesting is that this horse, this Barak, is supposed to be supernaturally tethered still on the Temple Mount of Islam, in Islam. Okay, it's supposed to be right there. That is the Barak wall. It's a wall dedicated to this horseman. Just like the Greeks have a horseman wall, in Islam they have a horseman wall. Except their centaur wall, or their Barak wall, is on the west. And to me, this has everything to do with the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, because they go in every direction, right? So these centaurs carry women away, and that is another story in the Bible, because Athelia, who was very, very evil, she got carried away by the horse entrance, the way of the horses. And they laid hands on her, and she went by the way by which the horses come into the king's house, and there she was slain. She left by the horse gate. Athelia, who was very evil, got carried away by the horse gate. Okay, so in this ancient history with these men riding supernatural horses, okay, only someone with high-ranking authority can ride them, okay, and has control over them, and all that is in the Bible. I'll give you the Bible passages, okay? So God has control over the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Even if you think they're bad, he still has control over them, okay? They do what he says, okay? And that is all in the Bible, and I'll read it to you now. Alright, so I believe the centaurs and all these men riding on horses or having control over horses are obviously talking about the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, because even centaurs could just represent men riding on horses, okay? Depends on which version you use, but it doesn't matter, because God uses every version, okay? He uses every version for more revelation, I believe, okay? The reason why there's four of them is because they're supposed to go in every direction, probably, and they're supposed to they probably are talking about these false religions and stuff like that, because these false religions do actually bring war and all this famine, okay? Not believing in God brings really bad stuff. They bring evil, okay? Anyway, so something that's very interesting is that these horses actually talk, which is very strange, because I thought the only animals that talked in the Bible were the serpent in the garden, and then it was Balaam's donkey, and now these four horses talk. And I don't know if these represent people or spirits, or if they actually look like horses, but they talk anyway. It's in the book of Zechariah, and I'll read it now. And remember, only someone who has high-ranking authority has control of these horses. And in this Bible passage, it's obviously God, okay? I saw by night, and behold, a man riding upon a red horse, and he stood among the myrtle trees, and were in the bottom. And behind him were the red horses, speckled and white. And then I said, O Lord, what are these? And the angel that talked to me said unto me, I will show you what these be. And the man stood among the myrtle trees, answered and said, These are them, they who the Lord has sent to walk to and fro from the earth. And they answered the angel of the Lord. So these horses are talking back to them, or talking back to Zechariah and the Lord, who the Lord is sitting on one of them, okay? And among the myrtle trees, and said, We have walked to and fro from the earth, and behold, all the earth sitteth still and is at rest. So these horses are talking, okay? And they say the Lord sends them to and fro from the earth. And that is very interesting, because God does that many times. The crow was sent from Noah's Ark to fly to and fro from the earth. And then as well, Satan in the book of Job, God asked Satan what he has been doing, and Satan says, I have been going to and fro from the earth. So these horses are saying the same thing. They go to and fro from the earth. Now, what is going on here? Okay, what does it mean to go to and fro from the earth? It can mean lots of things. The spirits going to and fro from the earth, it goes all the way back to Jacob's ladder. Okay, and God uses this to and fro from the earth as spirits traveling to and fro from the earth to explain lots of things. But let's use the horse version. So what do these centaurs and these horses do? They carry people to hell. So one of the many things that Satan is saying is that he has been busy hauling people off to hell this whole time, okay? He has been dragging people using spirits and other evil people to take other people to hell. Okay, he's been going to and fro from the earth, dragging people and hauling people off to his kingdom. That's one of the reasons why Satan goes to and fro, because he's very busy. Okay, he's a very busy horse, taking people back and forth to hell. But Elijah was picked up by horses. That's because God just uses the same philosophy, just flipped. These horses take you to heaven or hell. Okay, it's your choice. All right, it's your mode of transport. Okay, so but what do horses do? Like on earth, what do horses do? They make roads, right? They pave roads for people, right? That's where roads come from. That's where roads come from. They come from horses and carriage riding, right? And people just started making cars eventually. For thousands of years, people were just riding carriages and horses for thousands of years. And that's where roads come from. So these horses are paving the way for the coming of the Lord, or they are paving the way for the coming of Satan. Okay? They are making roads for you. And you have to pick which one you're going to take. If it doesn't lead you to Christ, it automatically means that you got led to somewhere else. You got led to hell, okay? That's what horses do. They go to and fro from the earth to pave a way for you. And you have to choose Christ. You better choose Christ, okay? One of these roads better have led you to Christ, okay? God has been paving the way for you since the beginning of the Bible, okay? He's been doing it with the birds, he's doing it with the horses, and he even uses Satan's own pathways to lead you to Christ. And I know that sounds really weird, because even in the Greek myths, or even in the Romans, the Romans built all these roads, okay? They were known for building all these roads, and the Christians just use those very same roads to spread the gospel, okay? As soon as Satan paves a road, you're allowed to use it, okay? You're allowed to use Satan's own tricks against him, all right? And every time he makes a path for you to lead away from Christ, you just use that same pathway to lead right back to him, okay? That's one of the many, many, many deep philosophies with these four horsemen of the apocalypse, okay? They can either be a bad thing or they can be a good thing. They can either you can either be taken off with Mohammad, or you can be taken off with Elijah and Christ, okay? Remember, only this Lord sitting on top of one of these horses is obviously talking about Jesus. He has control over these things, and God, okay? You know what movie does a really good job of demonstrating what I'm talking about? Of these multiple colored horses carrying you across the threshold into the kingdom is The Wizard of Oz. If you have ever seen The Wizard of Oz, where this multiple colored horses or horse carries her across the threshold into the kingdom. Okay, it's a good demonstration of what I'm talking about. It's about the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse carrying you into the kingdom, okay? Okay, you know, if you've been watching my videos, you know that I'm going to do this. God calls people these supernatural creatures. He calls people these horses. People are paving these paths, and Christians are paving the other paths, okay? People are paving the way to Satan. People lead people to Satan, and people lead people to Christ, okay? The people are these horses making these pathways, okay? That's why in the Greek, centaurs, these horsemen just represented people, but I'm still using that, okay? And you can go really, really deep into the philosophy of these four horsemen, okay? You can go all kinds of directions, and there's a lot of deep meaning behind it. But I really wanted to stay with the Greek centaur a little bit. I wanted to stay with that theme, even though it kind of branched off into other stuff because it's all related to me, alright? Anyway, so please think about this stuff, guys, and thank you.